The expected position battle at the center position for the Chicago Bears has been brewing as the Bears have been rotating their centers in and out. We're going to talk a little bit about that battle. We're also going to talk about ESPN projecting the Chicago Bears that they might miss the playoffs this year, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to look at the Chicago Bears core being ranked extremely high in the power rankings. We'll talk about that three-man core, and DeAndre Swift says that he wants to bring balance to the Chicago Bears offense. We'll talk about how he can do that. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform that we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So Coach Matt Eberflus says that at this point so far through OTAs and things, the Chicago Bears have been rotating Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton all in and out. Now, we know that the Bears center play for the last few years has been bad to terrible, when it comes down to it. And the Bears are trying to get some type of normalcy, right? Just competent center play this year. And hopefully, I think all Bears fans are hoping that eventually we find, our center of the future that's going to be here. But as of right now, the Bears have two veteran offensive linemen that both have experience at the center position that do bring a lot more competency than what we've had the last few years. And that is going to be an improvement, right? We've had struggles the last couple of years just getting the ball hiked. Like that's just been the basic thing of the center. We've had trouble with that on top of the coverage aspect of it. So, having two competent centers there, I think is going to help the Bears' offensive line overall look good. We still need health and things like that we've been talking about this offseason, absolutely. But expect this to be a position battle that goes throughout the whole offseason. So, we'll see what happens with that. Matt Eberflus did say that this position battle is going to go out throughout most of the offseason. They do want to have a starter in place as soon as possible to get chemistry, of course, with Caleb Williams. But this is something that Matt Eberflus has always brought since he's been the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Competition at every level. It comes down to who brings it the most. And, that doesn't mean that it always ends up working out that way perfectly, right? Or things like that. But the center position is definitely a big one that we need for right now. So the fact that Ryan Bates, Coleman Shelton are both seeing reps as the first team center, I think it's just the Bears going over everything that they possibly can to just make sure that they get this decision right. And this is an important decision. Like I said, when your center play has been in the trash for the majority of the last 2 to 3 seasons, just getting back to a place of it being competent is that first step, that groundwork. And then we'll see what the Bears do on that going forward. There's still a guy named Connor Williams out there. I wouldn't mind if the Bears kind of aren't as confident at that center position going out there and getting him. They think he's going to be healthy to start the season. But, overall, like I said, I try to keep a fair mind about it, right? Is that, I would love to have seen one of these game-changing centers here for the Chicago Bears at that position. Make no mistake about it. But just getting back to competent center play, I can understand the thought process in that, really wanting to evaluate and take a look at this offensive line with better continuity, more consistency up and down the health of that roster, I think is a big thing for the Chicago Bears team as well. So they're trying to get to that place. And I know that's not the easiest thing for Bears fans, is we want to see improvement up and down every situation, because this is a season with high expectations for what the Chicago Bears can be this season. And the last thing that you want is your new rookie quarterback or your offense overall being held back because of lackadaisical center play yet again. But I do think in looking at the tape, looking at what Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton have brought over their course of their NFL careers, we definitely have upgraded the center position. The biggest question is, did we upgrade it enough to where it's going to help rather than hurt the Chicago Bears offense? I feel pretty confident that they did, right? I think they went out, they got one guy in free agency, the other guy in trade. And, usually if Ryan Poles makes a trade for a guy, it's because he does believe him. Now, it doesn't always work. N'Keal Harry, being one of those, Chase Claypool being another. So it doesn't always work. And, of course, I know a lot of Bears fans would have more so liked to see the Bears go after a big name there or draft, a guy earlier in the draft. But this is what we have, and hopefully it ends up working out. Like I said, this is not us finding our center of the future. This is us finding our center of the right now. And that can still help drastically with this team, even though I know a lot of the pessimistic Bears fans really want to see this team get this solved, and I do too. But let's hope that we're going to get competent center play this year, and I think that's going to help the Bears a lot. All right, moving on from that, we got ESPN's projections. Yeah, I like going over these projections because it's receipts, right? And you guys know I'm a petty motherfucker. I make no mistake about it. I am petty, especially when it comes to the national media and some of these hardline stances they take on our Bears. So I like having the receipts. I really like having that. But ESPN came out with their FPI rankings as far as teams that are projected, ranking in the NFL, and the Bears ranked in the bottom half of the NFL at number 19, which would mean they miss out on the playoffs. They right around that same area as the Colts right below them at number 20. You got the Chargers right above them at number 18. The Steelers at number 17 as well. Even the Seahawks kind of 2 spots below at number 21. And then when you look at the division, the only division team that the NFC North that is ranked lower than the Bears is the Vikings at number 25. They actually have the Detroit Lions as 4th overall, which is crazy to see there in the NFL. And, they've earned that. They were a team that decided, hey, we're done rebuilding. We're ready to start competing. They're at number 4. And then you have the Packers, the Green Bay Packers at number 10. And when you look at the way that both those teams played, what they did postseason wise, as far as, in their season, it all makes sense that those teams are going to be ranked high above the Bears. Especially the Packers, they have Jordan Love, who put together a really good season for him being the first-year starter. And Caleb Williams, Matt Eberflus, there's some doubts around the Chicago Bears, and especially with Caleb Williams being a rookie quarterback, it's up to him to show and prove that he's going to live up to that potential. And I have no doubt that the Bears in next year's and rankings like this going forward, maybe even midseason rankings, are going to be ranked a little bit higher. But this just goes to show that, like I said before, there are some expectations with the Bears, but there's not a lot of belief in the Bears overall from the national media. And so that's what it comes down to. And we'll see, we got to turn that potential. We got to realize that potential, right? That's always kind of the way that I phrase it. I think that's a good way to look at it. Like, we got all the potential out this world, right? We have that. A lot of people see that, recognize it, but we have to realize that potential for us to really start. And at the end of the day, these preseason rankings, what do they really mean? Nothing. It's a bunch of people projecting things, but it is a talking point. It is something to discuss. And overall, it gives you kind of a view of how the Bears are viewed by some of these outlets heading into the season. A season where the Bears got a lot of shit to prove, man. And that's what it comes down to. We have a lot of stuff to prove. And while we've made those improvements on paper as of right now, nobody's seen them. And I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe if the Bears offense does look better coming out the preseason, maybe those rankings between the preseason and the start of the regular season, maybe that's a little bit more favorable for the Bears. But overall, it really doesn't matter. I don't care where we're ranked at preseason wise or where we're ranked at power rankings wise, where we're ranked at in any of this. It's nice to talk about, but I don't care. What I care about is when they lace up those pads and they get on that football field, how do we then look then, right? The eye test is more important than pundits or anybody else's power rankings. That's why I really don't do power rankings here. I've never really done power rankings because who the hell gives a damn what I feel like is the rankings via my own skewed view. We care about what happens on the football field, and that's where the Chicago Bears have to prove things. Everything needs to be proven on the football field. Ain't nothing, no war is going to be won in the damn in preseason rankings. So we'll see what happens into that. But again, so that way you guys know. So out of the NFC North, you got the Detroit Lions coming in at 4th. The Green Bay Packers coming in at number 10 there. The Chicago Bears coming in at number 19. And then you got the Minnesota Vikings well below the Bears at that point. So we'll see what that means for the Chicago Bears season. Let's hope that we get a lot more dubs than what people are expecting. And I love some postseason appearance with that. But with that said, with all the bad also comes the good. Sports Illustrated ranked the best trios in the NFL as far as on the defensive side of the ball. And he was really impressed by the three-man core is what they labeled it here. Gilbert Manzano, as far as the three-man of Montez Sweat on the defensive line, TJ Edwards in that linebacking core, and Jalen Johnson in the secondary. Now we know we got other players at other positions that have a lot, but when you look at those three-man cores, the fact that three-man core, ranked really high in that, they ranked as the 7th best defensive three-man core across the entire NFL. So that is something when it comes down to it, that's big. You look at TJ Edwards. In fact, I love that he's getting his flowers in a lot of ways this offseason. So many people have been talking glowingly about TJ Edwards. And keep in mind, Tremaine Edmonds was the big contract signing for us, the big free agent that we signed. And TJ Edwards, not that people didn't think that it was a major signing for the Bears, but it didn't get the same kind of attention as a Tremaine Edmonds signing. And so getting those two guys last season and Tremaine Edmonds, per you heard Darius' voicemail on Friday, people are expecting a lot out of Tremaine. And, him to kind of grow from what he did last year, he had the injury, got off to a slow start, and maybe that doesn't happen now. So, when you look at Montez Sweat, what he brought in, how much better the Chicago Bears looked after we acquired him, we were already starting to improve before we acquired him, and then you get him, and it just helped everything kind of make more sense. You look at Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, them stepping up. But Jalen Johnson is being named as one of the men on in this triplet I think is important here because Jalen looked so good towards the end of the season last year for the Chicago Bears. And now that he's gotten his money, it's going to bring new eyes to say, how do you develop your game? And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Right or wrong, people are going to look at the performance of Jalen Johnson this year and try to make it seem based off whatever they see game to game, whether he's playing up to the money that he got paid this offseason. And so, Jalen, a player that bet on himself, that the Bears also believed in. Ryan Poles never wavered over wanting to re-sign Jalen Johnson. They were able to get that deal done. And it was a deal that I think everybody kind of expected and hoped was going to get done. But now that we're going to hopefully have better, more consistent defensive line play and linebacker play, knock on wood, injuries aside, Jalen Johnson needs to look like let's be clear here. Like I said, interceptions are the only thing that made Jalen Johnson worth the extension. But the way that he looked to end that season, let's hope that we can get a full season of that, because if we do, that's going to be a big season. And this defense is going to be a big reason, as I've been saying for a while, of why I have my personal expectations high for the Chicago Bears team. This defense has to do their part in making it easier on the life of the offense and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. They have to live up to their side of the bargain. The offense has to too. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But it was so many games at times last season where the defense looked really good and the offense didn't, or vice versa, or we got a good defensive first half, bad defensive second half, or vice versa from the offense. This is truly a year, and I've said this multiple times, I want to see us be top 10 in offense and defense. Is that a tall expectation? Absolutely. Will they hit that? That remains to be seen. That's, like I said, tall order and a high expectation to expect that. But this is a team that I see the talent. And it's up to the players, it's up to the coaching staff to really bring that talent all together. But when you look at, for example, in this ESPN or the ESPN article, the core ranking, Sports Illustrated, article that we're talking about, ranking the three-man cores in the NFL, that's at every level. And I think that brings its own. We've talked about the synergy between the pass rush and the pass coverage, and the linebackers have a part in that as well. Having each one of these guys at each different level of the game for the Chicago Bears be a big part of that defense and the success, holding players accountable. Those are going to be things that I think help overall, as well as the intensity that Eric Washington is bound to bring to the Chicago Bears defense as well at being the defensive coordinator. So the defense has its tall order coming into the season. My personal expectations for the defense are ridiculously high, and I understand that. But I just really look at this defense and the talent that we have at each three levels, and the way that that young secondary is growing together, the way that these players can grow together. And I just have those high expectations for this team on that defensive side of the ball. And let's hope that they can all bring it together, man. We deserve to get a winning team this year. We deserve, well, as fan base, right? The team got to prove it. So I'm not saying it, but as a fan base, like, we want to see our team in the postseason. We want to see our team earn it, though. We want to see it fight, compete, do those type of things, do the right things to get there. And a big part, of course, is going to be the revamped Chicago Bears offense led by the new quarterback in Caleb Williams. But DeAndre Swift, the signing by the Chicago Bears, they spent money on to bring the running back in here. And Matt Eberflus said this: DeAndre Swift is really good. He's obviously, you guys know, he's very quick. DeAndre is a weapon out of that backfield, which is outstanding for our passing game and is going to create some mismatches for us. He is just a weapon back. We really needed that guy that we really operate on third down and even on first and second, and to be a weapon in the deep part of the field and the short part of the field. Being able to take it the distance, he's got a lot of gas. And DeAndre Swift understands that too, right? He understands what his expectations are for this team as well. And he talked about wanting to bring balance to the Chicago Bears offense. And that is a lot of what we're going to need. Yes, the Bears have had a top rushing attack each of the last 2 years, but we'd be remiss to not talk about the fact of how much Justin Fields running had an impact on that rushing attack. So, when people ask why did the Bears go out and spend money on a running back, that's part because Caleb Williams is going to operate more from inside the pocket. He can get creative if the pocket breaks down, but whereas Justin made plays with his legs, Caleb Williams is going to try to make the play with his arm first, and the legs are additive to that. And, so because of that, we still need that reliable rushing attack with that. And Swift said this, I feel like it's going to be balanced. We've got a lot of playmakers on the outside and playmakers in the running back room. I feel like we've got a lot of stuff in this offense to get our playmakers the ball. And that's what it's about. And that is going to be a big test of this offensive coordinator and Shane Waldron. Is he going to live up to the hype? We talk so often about the hype around Justin Fields, but make no mistake about it. Shane Waldron, even though there are absolutely some doubters as everybody's going to have in the NFL, Shane Waldron was a highly regarded offensive coordinator, and he's coming in for hope that he's going to help revamp this Chicago Bears offense that hasn't been spectacular at all, right? It hasn't been anything special at all the last couple of years. It's showed special flashes, but you really want to bring that about. And so finding that chemistry, finding that balance, having the running back room of DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roschon Johnson, is going to be important in that. And I know a lot of Bears fans as well have kind of looked at the rookie season of Roschon, and they're not impressed, and you shouldn't be impressed. But do not overlook Roschon Johnson as well as being one of the really the only downhill runner on this team in the running back room, and also probably still the best pass blocker out of that. And, a video got released, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, of Roschon Johnson working with DeAndre Swift. And that is a good thing to work on that because you want that tandem. Yes, you want that with Khalil. I'm not saying Khalil Herbert should be phased out of this game at all either, not saying that. But I do think the writing's on the wall that Khalil may not have a spot on the Chicago Bears team after this season, and he may very well be traded at the deadline depending on if a combination between Roschon and DeAndre and bringing different things, could make the Bears want to use that asset and go out and get other things. So this is going to be an important year to see that balance, and Shane Waldron is going to have to do that balancing act. Yes, the wide receiver core is getting a lot of notice, rightfully so, because it is one of the more talented wide receiver cores, again, right now on paper in the NFL. You add Gerald Everett, you add Cole Kmet, who I think Shane Waldron is going to absolutely love. Cole Kmet. He could break some more of his own personal records this season. But that running back room is important in that as well. And I don't want to overlook that. And they're going to be an important part in bringing balance to this team. You can't have a above average passing attack if your running attack isn't at least respected. But I think we got talent to be more than just a respected running attack. And that's what the Bears have to try to find and strike that balance and understanding when and where. And Shane Waldron, the fact that he is one of those play callers that call running plays on non-traditional run downs, and he calls passing plays on non-traditional passing downs, it's going to keep defenses on their feet. But we need the performance from the players to keep that going and to make that be a weapon for the Chicago Bears. This is a talented offense. But again, they got to show it, and going through these OTAs, going through training camp, finding that balance is going to be hugely important for the Chicago Bears as they find that over the course of the season. And you guys know, I do think that the offense may show some signs of struggle early on. And by struggle, I just mean kind of finding that balance. Not everything being as well-oiled as a machine and things like that. But by the end of the season, by really midway through the season, we got a bye week in week 7? By that, I really want to see the Bears come out of that bye week. And that's where the offense just, and if it happens before, then great. But just kind of in being realistic, I do think it may take a little bit more time than what Bears fans are hoping that it's going to take. But I do have faith that by the end of the season, it's going to be exactly what we want and need it to be. And hopefully that means a playoff appearance for the Chicago Bears. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, and that is thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.